Hello, it's Pierre. In this video, I want to share with you my web design process when working with clients. So the very first part of the process is going to be a discovery call with the client where I understand the business, their goals, their target market, and anything that can help me understand what is going to help bring the project to become a success. So most of the times after the call, the client might send me over some documentation, which might be even quite extensive. So I usually use ChatGPT in order to brainstorm ideas and structure things in a neat way. So two prompts which I usually use is first one is to give a summary of a documentation. So think about a 10-20 page documentation. This can really help to extract the high level. Now, of course, you want to go through the entire documentation yourself, but this is going to help you to note down the key informations. Now, another useful thing that you can use ChatGPT for is to essentially ask to create a structure and a list of components of a landing page based on the data which you sent over. So this is going to enable you to extract and have a list of ideas of components for your landing page or website. And of course, you're going to need to go through each one by one and tweak them because it's not really perfect what the outcome is. But it's going to give you a nice list of ideas in order for you to avoid having to start from scratch. Now, the very second tool which I use these days is Relium Library AI, which is going to enable you to create a sitemap. Now, you can describe a company or website in a couple of sentences, and it's going to give you a rough sitemap. But what I really like to do is to do it with a more manual approach based on what I initially planned with ChatGPT and understood from the client. So I would simply go ahead and create different sections for the sitemap. I don't really use the wireframe section too much because I rather do that in Figma, which is going to be the next point, because overall there's not a high level of detail that you can really go through when it comes to this. It's nice to have a high level basic idea, but what I usually use this for is to just note down the basic sitemap, and then once I actually have an idea as to the different pages and what are the components within the pages, I would use Figma. And you can leverage a wireframe kit, such as the one from Relium again, because it's so big, has so many free components. But the core focus here is just to create a bare bones wireframe where everything is pretty much in black and white, and you just want to understand the structure of the page or the website. And once you bounce those ideas with the client, then you can actually start designing the actual website in Figma. So you will start going into much more details into the actual process. And after the design is done in Figma, I would use, of course, Webflow in order to create the website. Now, there's a lot of discussion these days about Framer, and I think it's an excellent tool, but so far Webflow just gives a higher level of customization and flexibility, especially if you're looking to create a larger scale project. So Webflow is my tool of choice, and I would usually use the client first style sheet or class naming because it's going to enable you to create a rock solid structure. And talking about the structure, I also use and invest in the library, the Relium library, in order to basically create the structure of the website with rock solid components. These are already responsive for the most part and created by professionals. So even if you're not a front-end developer, you can still leverage rock solid structures without having to reinvent the wheel for the basics. And this is how I approach it for the most part. So I start building the website, and if I needed some more fancy components, I would also look into a website like Flowbase, where they have quite an extensive library of already pre-styled components. Just beware that this is going to potentially create some inconsistencies in the naming conventions and the classes when you copy them in Webflow. So you always have to be cautious whenever you're dealing with multiple libraries, and you always want to refine things manually once you import them. Now, after that, when it comes to client communication, I used to use this tool, markup.io, which is amazing for commenting directly on the website. Nowadays, Webflow have comments directly in their system, so it's very easy for us to achieve very similar results with the Webflow commenting features directly. So this is quite useful, and after we basically agree upon the basic of the design in Webflow, I have an entire checklist which I go through before checking off and sending the website live. But some of the tools which I use, which is included in the checklist, is things like checking the responsiveness of the website, which I also do on real mobile devices. I have a mobile, of course, a smartphone, but as well also a tablet, which I check directly over there. But tools like this one here, which is responsivedesignchecker.com. There's a bunch more, by the way, but this is going to really be really helpful to give you like a high level idea when it comes to the responsiveness. And you also want to check the speed for both UX and SEO purposes. So a tool like GTM metrics and also pingdown.com can be really helpful for that. And of course, all of the rest of the checklist, which is probably going to require a video in and of itself. So I hope this video was helpful. If you want to learn more about web design and UI UX design, I myself have been a designer for 10 years, so feel free to check out the other videos on my channel, and I'll see you in the very next one.